Hi, welcome to today's community chat. I'm going to be speaking with Karla Reaves, Director of Victim Services, and we are going to be talking about National Crime Victims' Rights Week. If you're not aware, this is the week this week, and Hampton is having events to let you know what resources are available. There are other crime victim resources in other cities in Hampton Roads as well, so please be sure to check what resources you have in your city. So I'm going to bring Karla on now. Karla, thank you so much for joining us. And again, you're with Hampton Office of the Commonwealth's Attorney and Victim Services Unit, and you are the director of that. So, just to
Yes.
get started, can you tell us exactly, what your group does and then the role that you play?
Well, thank you, Sarah, for having me. This is a very important role as Director of Victim Services and the Victim Services Unit. We do a lot for victims and witnesses in our community, Hampton more specifically, making sure that their rights are protected and uh, they are aware of all the services that are available to them through our office and throughout the criminal justice process. So,
And I guess we can start with maybe some of the events that are happening this week, and then we can, maybe talk about some of the resources because you all are, as a part of this week, sharing some of those resources with the community if they were not aware, or just to make them, I guess, known better for those people and what that means. But I guess just maybe going back to Saturday, you all had your Commonwealth Cares event. I mean, can you just tell us a little bit about that because that was a very large resource fair for those that you don't know at Darling Stadium, and you did have a lot available.
yes, absolutely. Well, as you know, this is National Crime Victims' Rights Week, and the theme for this year is Survivors' Voices Elevate, Engage, and Affect Change. And that was our goal on Saturday with our Your Commonwealth Cares event. We wanted to provide an environment for victims, witnesses, families that they could come to one location and see what services are available to them. We had over 37 vendors there providing the different services that they have available for not just victims, but for the community as a whole. Um, we had insurance companies there, we had funeral homes there, we had voter registration being done, we had food vendors, we had haircuts, and a lot of people took advantage of that. We had uh, scrumptious dessert vendors as well, and bounce houses and things like that. So it was an opportunity to bring the community together to show support. And I think one of the things that was most impactful to me was the Survivor Walk. We had a Survivor Walk, which was victim to victorious, because we know that once we come through or people come through these terrifying and victimizations, that they need to have hope and know that there is a light beyond what they've just experienced. And so to see the community come together and to see people walking in solidarity with others was just overwhelming and a wonderful opportunity for them. So,
And to get to know the community, prior to maybe, other crimes happening, or if they, unfortunately, if they fall into that situation, knowing those resources exist and knowing that the community exists and your unit exists, that's very important.
yes, absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely is.
for this week in general, I guess this was the first year that you all did this resource fair. I mean, what was the thought behind that, and sort of, maybe adding that to the lineup of events to connect with the community?
So I will tell you that this was not my not my vision. It was the vision of my staff, one of the staff members who just wanted to educate the community because what we do on a daily basis is assist victims in court and making sure that they know what rights they have. But there are so many that don't know and are not educated about the services that are available to them, how the court system works, and we wanted to just provide that platform. So I have an awesome team victim services team. There are 9 of us all told, and volunteers and interns. And we just wanted to be able to hear all the services all in one place so that you can talk with the people that are here. You have more time with them instead of this, quickly calling on the phone to say, hey, you may be eligible for this or that. This gives you an opportunity to just sit and chat and learn more about what these different programs offer or can offer you. So human services there, we had the Virginia Victims Fund, and a lot of other resources that victims need in order to help them move to the next level. And so that was just the overall theme, was to see how we could help engage the community and elevate things to a different level and affect change. And we figure that if the more information we put out and the more knowledgeable people are about the services, they're able to help others know where to go and get these services. So that's one of the things that we wanted to make sure that we had everything we could think of. And of course, some people couldn't come, and we had many more that we wanted to. And hopefully next year will be bigger and better, because we do intend to do this again, because I think it was very successful. And people are still calling and sending messages about how much they enjoyed being there.
And to have,
We even had a dunk tank. I'm sorry.
oh
We
no,
even
please.
we had a dunk tank, and we dunked the Commonwealth's attorney and law enforcement at Hampton Police Department. One of our attorneys in the office actually got dunked in his suit. He said, I'm going to give them the full experience of dunking a Commonwealth. And so that's what he did. So it was a lot.
Hey, but that, that draws that community connection between them, makes
Absolutely.
it more casual. They know to reach out to them.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
and with the victims, Remembrance Walk, and to be walking too. So yes, it was an event for resources, but also this remembrance. I mean, can you share a little bit about, maybe how moving or how important that piece of it is, to make sure that we, especially during this week, remember those victims and think about them during that time too.
Right. So as you can imagine, we in Hampton, of course, have been through a lot of tragedy and losses, people's lives lost to violent crime here in the city. And we we want them to understand that we stand with them. We're always going to be with them, even though they've lost their loved ones, that you have someone that you can depend on and count on. And so watching them, because we had families there who had lost loved ones, we had people there who were victims who are still living today. And so to know that they have that support makes them feel empowered to move forward. And so we encourage them to get involved in counseling and to just try to move forward past the tragedy that they've encountered. And they're grateful for the support that they have. And one of the things, and just to move forward with some of the activities that we have planned, we tomorrow we will have a homicide survivor support group, because that is one of the things that we do here in Hampton. Twice a month we have a homicide survivor support group with a licensed counselor who is the facilitator of that. And tomorrow we want to do something different, something special. And so we're going to do a paint night and give them the opportunity to share some artistic skills if they have any. Some of us do, some of us don't, but it's all in fun and all in our being able to be together and to support what they're dealing with. Today, we're actually having a training for funeral directors, in-service training for funeral directors and those stakeholders who work with victims of crime who need to assist and to find out more about how the Virginia Victims Fund works. We want to make sure that when we're assisting crime victims that everybody is on the same page. And, we thought that it would be a great idea to have funeral directors come out, because everyone doesn't always understand the process. And so if we're sharing the process about how to fill out the claims, how to get your monies, those types of things, it would help the process of getting the applications completed, assisting these families so that they're not feeling traumatized from having to fill out applications to get monies to bury their loved ones. So, we take every opportunity to find ways that we can work together, engage with one another, so that we can help the process and help families and victims uh, to move to the next level. That's the easiest way that I can share that with you. Um, and then on Wednesday, also at the same time, because we have so much going on, and everyone does, um, there will be a roundtable discussion with the Attorney General in Richmond, and we have some victims who will be going there so that they can talk about, have conversations about identifying gaps in the system, in services that they need, so that we can make sure that they are getting all of the services that they can have. So we are very appreciative to the Attorney General's office for allowing and having this platform that victims can come and speak for.
And
So
your job seems to really be, in such a dark time for some of these families or some of these victims, finding those resources that they can use or they need to sort of, maybe ease the burden a little bit if possible, whether it is for that funeral planning or whether that is for themselves to have those resources like therapy or support groups. I mean, is that really where you all connect in?
we do. We connect with them and we have wonderful working relationships with agencies like Transitions Family Violence Services for domestic violence type cases, the Center for Sexual Assault Survivors for those who have been victims of sexual assault, and many other agencies. We have memorandum of agreements with them so that we are providing services. The goal is to try to have a one-stop shop, so to speak. We can tell you where to get all of these services. Sometimes these people come to them. If we're in the court, we work together in that way. So that is the goal, to make sure that in addition to us providing the services in court on a daily basis, where we go with them, we help them to understand what's happening, we um, share what other services are available to them, refer them there, and generally, they're receiving the assistance that they need. So it goes pretty well for them. But it's not like that for everyone. But the goal is to try to provide as many services as possible to people, because we don't want to re-victimize them. We want to always be trauma informed and victim centered when working with crime victims, and that's our absolute goal.
And thank you for bringing up the center and transitions, and that's one reason Wavy's Kiana Patterson, like, she's been working with so many stories with those organizations and so many others. I mean, even just recently, 2 weeks ago, with the Walk for Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
Yes.
Those are great places to learn about resources, but then also just support that awareness. Obviously what you all are doing and partnering with some of those organizations, and
Mhm.
what you just said about re-victimization, that's very interesting, because you all want to not only help them through the problem, but don't want them to fall back into maybe the situation they were coming from. I mean, with a team of 9, I'm sure that's a large caseload for all of you, but you have support and you have these resources. I mean, can you talk a little bit about, it seems like you work with families or people for an extended period of time, right? Not just the day something happens.
Oh, absolutely. We we establish rapport with many people, and sometimes we're still working with people that we may have had contact with years ago. They know to contact us back. They have referred people that they know that have been victimized to us, because they know that we're here. They know that the services that we provide. So yes, that has always been one of my, uh, I guess, pet peeves. You can't just meet someone and provide the services and then walk away. We're not going to do that. You're going to know who we are. We're going to impact you in a way that you know where to come. You feel comfortable, because if you build that type of rapport, especially with cases with people who have active cases, they're going to make better victims, better witnesses for the case. It's a team effort. Everybody has to work together across the board in order to get successful prosecutions and to make sure that the scales of justice are balanced. Um, I have victims that call all the time, sometimes just to say hello, because they feel that level of comfort with us. And so we want to always make sure that that we provide that type of customer service, so to speak, when dealing with victims. And it doesn't matter what the situation is, we're going to be here for you. We have, I like to consider a very um, um, victim-centered, trauma-informed unit. Everyone recognizes the importance of that. Everybody's trauma situations are different, and no one minimizes uh, anyone's victimization type, or um, ever treats anyone as if they don't care. I can't have that type of thing happen here. And so when they call, they know who they're dealing with, who they're going to be receiving services from. We work on various teams here in Hampton. We have different people on teams, and so they already know who they're working with. I mean, they know their advocates by name, and it's important that they have those types of relationships so that they can get the services that they need.
And what a
So yeah.
testament that people call you, just to say hello, or they know exactly who their caseworker is. There's no mystery there.
No mystery, none whatsoever. It's important that they have those types of relationships. It works for everyone. And if they feel as though the services that we are offering aren't enough, then we're going to take the time to figure out what we can do to help you, or what direction we need to find. I mean, we've assisted people with housing, food, everything that they could possibly need, we're going to be there to assist with. And that's why it's so important to foster relationships with agencies outside of victim services and those that I mentioned already, because you never know what types of services are going to be necessary for them. And so we try to build that um, relationship with others. We have a big resource book with all with everyone in it, and it's not always here just in Hampton. It crosses the line to Newport News and across the peninsula and beyond. So yeah, we will always do that as long as I'm here as director of the program, and I've been here for 37 years. So I've seen a lot of cases, and have met a lot of wonderful people. And so we continue to keep those relationships and those fires burning so that we can assist people where they are.
Well, you've really dedicated yourself to this, and it seems obvious how passionate you are about this, and how deeply you care about these individuals, whether you've known them for a day or whether they're people that come back to you for support.
Yes, indeed. And I have an awesome team. And I've mentioned it before, but I have to keep saying it over and over again, because I could not do this work without the team of individuals here working in victim services, the victim advocates, the victim witness specialists, as we call them, who dedicate their time day in and day out to work with these crime victims. And in addition, put together such a wonderful event as Saturday. It's like they're in court every day, but they put together this beautiful outdoor event that people just came out to, and we had excellent volunteers, and we're just grateful to everyone who came out and supported us and participated. And just want to let them know you'll probably hear from us again soon.
And
So
that
yeah,
did make me want to ask for people
yes.
that might be nervous about a situation, or maybe they were a victim of a crime, but not exactly sure what the next steps are. I'm sure you all do get in touch with them, but if there was a situation where they maybe needed to reach out, or they needed help, or needed resources, is that an office that they should call, or should they be getting in touch through the Commonwealth's attorney's office, for services? How does that process work?
So a lot of times we're pretty proactive in knowing cases and things that are happening, especially your more violent type cases. So we have access to reaching out to them even before they reach out to us. And many times we do that. Now we may not meet everyone or get to talk with everyone, but they do have access to us and a number to reach us. We have a very good working relationship with the Hampton Police Department, and they share those things with us so that we can reach out and provide services early on instead of waiting until after a case has gone through the process, because those services are needed right away. We have several different programs, and one that I failed to mention earlier, we have a reset program. Reset is rapid engagement and support in the event of trauma, and that is uh, a group that goes out into the community 24 to 48 hours after a crime occurs, because we recognize that crime not only impacts an individual, it impacts an entire community. And so we go out and we share resources and information and telephone numbers to let them know what services are available. This is not a fact finding mission, it's just to show our support, because we know that you've been devastated by a shooting or a murder that's occurred in your neighborhood, and want to let you know you're not alone. And so we get that information, like I said, 24 to 48 hours afterwards, and a group of volunteers get together and knock on doors and provide this information. So we're very proud of those types of things that we're doing, and have more ideas and types of programs that we will be doing in the future.
And what a web of support that is. It's not just the person that maybe is the victim of a crime or the family unit, but then for it to also move out toward the community where that crime occurred. I mean, that's a pretty significant web that you all do try to reach.
Yes, yes. And it's important to know that Victim Services works with all victims of crime, no matter the age, uh, youth, adults, elderly. We work with everyone. Most victim witness programs are grant funded programs, and are required to do certain things with the grant that maybe some other organizations can't do. One of the unique situations is that victim witness programs are, by the code, statutorily required to provide services to crime victims. So I always share 19.2-11.01 in the Code of Virginia is where you find the rights of crime victims. And when I do training, sometimes I ask people, as you know the rights of defendants, you have the right to remain silent. Do you really know what the rights are for crime victims? Crime victims have the right to be treated with dignity, respect, sensitivity, and to be heard throughout the whole process. And so I think knowing that victims have rights, and keeping that in your memory bank as you do a Miranda right for offenders is equally important. Um, so I stress the importance of my people knowing what 19.2-11.01 is, and we share that with victims too, because we want them to know you have a right to be treated with dignity and respect. You have a right to be heard during the hearings. You have a right to be in court. You have a right to restitution. All of those things we have to constantly instill in them so that they are able to ask questions and to be knowledgeable of what's available to them. So,
And that's it's great information, and I hope people go look up their code if they weren't, clear on that, because I have to say I don't think that is, a phrase that you hear so much. I think, from TV shows or from crime, everyone understands, or at least, casually, what Miranda rights are, but I don't know if everyone knows what victims are also owed or also
Right.
deserve.
Right. And what I just mentioned to you, the 19.2-11.01, is the Code of Virginia.
Hmm.
So, each state has their own set of codes, but that's Virginia, and that's the one that sticks here for me, and that we've been using for quite some time. And so I want to say it was 1984, and they always said a new day dawned in Virginia when the rights of crime victims were established here in this area. So we're very fortunate to have that and have a set of rules to go by. Um, so, we we are victim impact. I didn't mention that. Victim impact is another important thing that victims, and you probably have seen that on TV where they read victims their victim impact statements. Um, and so we assist people in putting together victim impact statements or helping to get them ready for having to testify in court. Some are a little nervous about doing that, but it's just sharing your experience or what it is you want the court to know about how this crime has impacted you. And all those things help in making determinations as to what an offender is going to receive as a result. So it plays a role in that. And
And
so we want to always make sure that they are knowledgeable of it.
absolutely. And do you all play a part in if somebody needed witness protection or needed security on if they're a victim on that end? Or is that, I'm sorry, that might be too complicated and get sort of into some other
It's
programs, but just
no,
curious.
no, it's not too
Hmm.
complicated. I don't want to, give anybody the impression that that is what we do.
Right.
We do not change identities. We have been in positions that we have had to assist people who have uh, are afraid for their lives. We have moved people before, but that doesn't go without assistance from the victim. We can't
Right.
make these decisions on our own. They have to play a major role in that. And so while those things do happen on a limited basis, when necessary, and of course there are certain guidelines that we use to make that determination, we do help people if they have had those situations to happen.
But to just even offer strength, to get up on that witness stand, to give that impact statement, whether that, is going to help with a trial or if that is going to offer them some closure. I mean, to offer strength and support through that, is really significant, I assume, for those people that you all offer services to.
Yes, it is. It's very important. And, everyone has their own, and even within victim witness, their own style of assisting a victim, whatever they're comfortable with, because we all know the goal that we have to reach. Um, but, trying to get them to just think about the things that they want to write. Some may not feel comfortable writing, and we can assist them with that, or just share what it is that you want to, these feelings that you're sharing with me are the same things that you want to share with the court, because they share, how upset they are about what's happened, how their lives have been disrupted. And so as they're sharing that with me, I basically say that is what you need to share with the court, just like that. And so, whereas they think that they're having to do something that's so difficult, it's really just talking. It's just communicating what it is that you're feeling, and letting the court know, this is how I want to see things happen, or the justice that I need to be able to share how I've been impacted by this crime. So
Well, the
yeah,
amount of areas that you all touch, is so significant. I mean, really through that whole process, and I imagine, some might, hopefully, there is justice, but sometimes the cases where, people might need your support, obviously that varies in what they need with legal help or what they need day to day. So I guess just to know that you all do offer, it seems, a whole range of resources for someone, no matter where they sort of are in that scale of either healing or finishing off legal battles that they might need to.
hmm Yeah. Now, so as far as legal type things, it would be anything that we would only be involved in
Right.
things that are being prosecuted by the Commonwealth's Attorney's
Mm-hmm.
Office. We don't get involved in any civil type matters. If
Mm-hmm.
they have to deal with that, we can't refer them to attorneys and things of that nature. So that is something that they have to handle pretty much on their own. Um, but anything having to do with the prosecution of the cases and making them aware of court hearings, and that in itself can be traumatizing because cases get continued for periods of time over and over again, and it's very frustrating. But what we try to instill in people is that we are still very committed to uh, seeing this case to the end. There are circumstances that are beyond our control as to why it's not going forward, but this is an opportunity to dot all I's and cross all T's, and it is going to happen. Eventually it is going to happen. If there is enough evidence to move forward, if we have, all the major players in place, everything is going to go forward. It just doesn't always happen in the time frame that we want it to. And so, we try to keep people encouraged. It's frustrating to us as well because we want the closure for them. But we just have to stay positive and know that eventually there is going to be um, um, light at the end of the tunnel, closure to their cases, and justice to be served. So,
Well, thank you so much, Karla. And I think that there's so many things now, obviously, that I think we could get into even in more specifics in places. But is there anything else that that we didn't get to in terms of either major points for resources or something else that you really wanted to mention?
I think as far as resources are concerned and any of the things that I may or may not have mentioned, you can always contact the Victim Services Unit. And if we are not the agency to provide those resources, we will do the best we can to refer you and direct you to where those services can be attained. Because we don't want anyone to be out here not knowing where they can find or get help. um, it that is a major concern of ours, that no one goes without help. We have to make sure that they receive the services, that they feel somewhat relieved from whatever it is that they're having to go through. We get a lot of calls from people, and some things don't relate to us at all. But I think it's important that if you're able to direct them where they need to be, that they're grateful for the assistance because sometimes they've been um, moved around or shuffled around to so many different places, and we don't want that for them. We want to be able to be that one stop. The question was answered, and we were either able to provide the service here or we were able to send them or refer them to some place that they can get the help they need. So we want to always be there. We want to, as I said, elevate, engage, and affect change at all times. I think this is one of the I've liked many of the themes for the week of Victims' Rights Week, but this particular one has really stuck out in my mind because this is something that we attempt to do on a regular basis. Elevate, engage, and affect change. And so, if we're doing that and we're working together in doing that, then just imagine what we can achieve working together to provide the services that are needed for crime victims.
Absolutely. Well, I wanted to end with, in case anyone, has hopped on the conversation later, that there are still events happening tomorrow. If people do need to attend, you said the homicide support group and the chance to sit down with the Attorney General to talk about, maybe some ideas they have or gaps in services that they need. I mean, you really do want to hear that feedback from people in Hampton, correct? You all,
You do? We do.
you're making that space available. So I think, if people are available, what a good opportunity to sort of connect right to your team and to the Attorney General to speak about some of these things.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things, whether it's during Victims' Rights Week or not, our homicide survivor support group meets twice a month. And so if you are interested or have family members who may be interested in attending the homicide survivor support group, please reach out to us, and we can get you connected to our our meetings. And the group for tomorrow is, I believe as a matter of fact, it is an invite only type thing, but it's for the homicide survivors that are in the group already. But that doesn't stop you from calling, because if there's extra room, we will make sure that we get you in there if possible.
Absolutely. Or they can get in the next month
Or
and get
into
in,
the next
right.
one. That's
Hmm.
absolutely right. Absolutely true. Again, the funeral directors luncheon and in-service is going on as we speak. Learning more about the Virginia Victims Fund and how to get monies to assist if you've been a victim of crime, and have had physical injuries or have uh, died as a result, and families have to take care of funeral arrangements. So
And we know
that's
how
what's going on.
costly, that can be,
Absolutely.
and what a
Yes.
burden. Yeah.
It's a lot. It's
Hmm.
a lot on a family. And so we want to do whatever we can to support them through that process and to try to alleviate some of the stresses that you know, come with it. In addition to that, we have the Attorney General's roundtable discussion with victims to kind of find out what gaps in services are there so that we can help them with that. So we're just really excited about the activities that have taken place this week. Other programs have around the state and within the localities here. And so we hope that people have enjoyed, have learned some, and stay in touch with us, because there's always something that we can do or that we are doing to recognize the rights of crime victims. But in addition to recognizing the rights of crime victims, we want to show our appreciation for those who work tirelessly to provide these services. Sometimes we're unsung heroes of uh, working with working in this profession. And so the work that each and every one of us do is truly important. So we want to make sure that we recognize those for their um, dedication and commitment to working with crime victims.
Well, Karla, thank you so much. I'm so sorry, I have a cough. It's, but I think it's great for everyone to know what resources are available. And again, I will have this on wavy.com so people can check in to see if they are available to go tomorrow to the roundtable and also know what resources are available every day. So thank you so much, Karla.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.